And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Well, Liverpool fans were getting their hopes up that potentially the checkbook would be out this January transfer window. I've been saying for the longest time that Liverpool do need defensive reinforcements. I don't care if certain players are going to be returning back from injury. Liverpool decided that they needed Mark Gahey at the end of August. They decided that they wanted a defensive reinforcements. That deal fell through at the last minute. And going into January, it has been seen, or going into the season, we have seen it's very clear that Liverpool do need some defensive reinforcements. Now, January has been very, very quiet. However, we did provide you with an update this morning from Fabrizio Romano, Paul Joyce, David Ornstein, all the other good sources, that essentially Liverpool were in negotiations and were pushing to sign Geertruida. Of course, Arne Slot knows him very well, very versatile, plays right back, plays centre back, and I felt would have been a good addition. However, we have got some bad news for you, ladies and gentlemen, and it comes from those same sources. Let's get into today's live stream. Let's go through this breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. But first, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, major breaking. Liverpool are not expected to proceed with the Geetruida deal. Decision made that the deal was not viable after being offered the chance to sign the defender. Fabrizio Romano there as well. Geetruida to Liverpool deal considered off by Sunderland after talks not advancing today. Discussions took place over the last 24 hours, but no agreement at this stage, and Sunderland are now planning not to proceed. Then it came from Paul Joyce, Liverpool to Geertruida deal not expected to happen now. Sunderland not in the position to sanction it at present. Player wanted the move and Liverpool were ready to proceed. However, of course, Geertruida is now not going to be joining Liverpool Football Club this January. So again, it doesn't look likely that this deal is going to go over the line. And I suppose that Liverpool aren't going to be signing anybody now in January because Alex Crook provided an update saying that Liverpool are not planning to push ahead with this deal. Player was keen, but Joe Gomez is close to a return to fitness, and the hope is that Frimpong is not far behind. So again, they're looking at a situation here where they've decided that Liverpool do not need these reinforcements, which I can't help ask the question as to why. There's still so much to play for this season. Yes, a positive result yesterday against Newcastle. Yes, we've looked good in the Champions League, but we still need some reinforcements, especially in those defensive areas. So I'm slightly concerned. I'm not going to lie. I think, there was a slightly good potential addition to be bringing into the squad. And now going into the last couple of days, I think deadline day is tomorrow. Do I think that there's going to be another transfer on the cards for Liverpool? Probably not. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see how this has gone this way, so to speak. But certainly, Liverpool fans, I don't think, are happy online at this news that has came out with regard to Geertruida. I'm interested to know what you guys are thinking on this. But I feel like the club does need defensive reinforcements. I do think the club does need to get the checkbook out in the January transfer window. And again, there seems to be a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel with the potential move of this one happening. But now, obviously not the case. Where did Liverpool go from here? It just feels like in January as well, weren't even in the running for Mark Gahey in January, despite wanting him. Going all out in August, having the deal there, an inch away from getting it completed, and weren't even in the running for the player in the January transfer window, which makes me ask the question, why? Why were the club not... I understand FSG's model is like, right, you only sign players that we actually want, but you identified Mark Gahey as a signing that you wanted in the summer. People can say, well, Manchester City overpaid a little bit. Maybe, uncompetitive wages, but throw your hat in the ring at least. He made it clear that he wanted to join Liverpool in the summer. He also made it clear that Liverpool was his preferred choice, even if he was going to get a choice at the end of the season or as a free agent. But I still don't understand why not throw your hat in the ring to potentially go and get the signing if you identified him as the player that you wanted. Now I feel Liverpool are just left short. They've fallen short with regard to defensive reinforcements this season. There's still a lot to play for. and you're still relying on Joe Gomez. Look, I like Joe Gomez as much as the next person, but, you know, I feel like we've had this conversation for about 4 years, that Joe Gomez is like surplus to requirements at Liverpool, that people were saying, well, Joe Gomez is done. He's close to a move. I feel like every transfer window we talk about Joe Gomez going out of the door, but now all of a sudden he's close to fitness. So there's no need to get some defensive reinforcements because Joe Gomez is here to save the day. So I don't know which one it is. We're probably going to be here in 5 years' time still talking about, oh, Joe Gomez is returning. So, oh, yeah, we'll be fine. Look, sometimes in these games this season, I've looked at those defense, and you can talk about fitness issues, you can talk about all the other things, but looking at some of our games, you know, defense has been a huge problem with absentees in the team, and it's a long season to go. We've been leaving ourselves short when we've had injuries. Who's to say there's not going to be any other injuries coming up for the rest of the campaign? How do you know there's not going to be some more problems as we go deeper into the season, especially into the Champions League, if they actually have the ambition to win the Champions League, if they actually have the ambition to go for the FA Cup, or ambition to finish in the top four, or at least try and push as close as we can to the top of the table? You know, these unforeseen circumstances, you can't just hang your hat on Joe Gomez and say, oh, well, he's nearly returning to fitness, so that's it then. What happens if another injury happens? We're another injury away from a crisis happening at the back. We've had Dominic Szoboszlai filling it right back. We've been seeing Endo playing at centre-back recently. Like, come on. Like, it's clear that the club need a centre-back reinforcement. And I think that's genuinely clear to see. I genuinely see that is clear and obvious. So I just don't understand what is happening. And I get it. I know FSG's transfer model. I know it. But it just doesn't make any sense to me. It makes zero sense to me. And now I'm seeing things here in the comments as well. This is too painful. Apparently it's off now. Yes, it is off. The deal's off, apparently. Ian says Joe Gomez is stealing a living, barely even ever fit. Moreover, not fit for purpose. Availability is the best ability. Exactly. And looking at the story so far this season, with players being absent at the back, how can you hang your hat on Joe Gomez? And I don't like to be disrespectful because I love Joe Gomez, but how can you hang your hat on Joe Gomez to win the Champions League? It shows the ambition here, right? Liverpool in the Champions League is a romantic story. You know, there's always a chance to win the Champions League. And, you know, people will say, well, no, there's no chance this year. There is a chance, you know, we've been playing better football with inside the Champions League, you know, the one-off games. There's a chance to go for it. And that's why I'm flabbergasted with the recruitment strategy. I really am. And certainly in the summer as well, Konate's contract coming to an expiring. Doesn't look likely he's going to be signing a new contract. I don't, by the way, I'm not digging at Konate. I thought he was absolutely fantastic yesterday. And I thought that was a game that proved that he needed to stay. He was really, really good yesterday. But yeah, I just don't understand, you know, everyone was always talking about Michael Edwards and all these operators. They're so good. Constantly having players out of contract, going right down to the last few months to deal with them at the last minute. Don't even know if Konate is coming or going. And there's no, like, actual plans to see who the club are going to be going for in terms of defensive reinforcements. I just don't get it. Either way, it's frustrating, it's annoying, and for those of you just tuning in, deal is off for Geertruida. Done. He ain't signing for Liverpool this January transfer window. Either way, run over. Do let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Will the club sign anyone before, well, this time tomorrow?